This is Will Buchanan reporting for the Walk for Liberty.
It's day 28, Sunday, May 11th, 2008, Mother's Day. We're going to have to walk along the interstate for about 1.5 miles since that's the only path that leads through where we are right now. Looks like the train's moving at about the same speed we are. Three generations of bridges, expanding as traffic flow increased.
We've met some interesting people the last few days.
A few nights ago we had dinner with one of my dad's former colleagues. Although he claimed to be a Reagan-style Republican and wants government to be as small as possible, even saying that he didn't think he should have to pay any taxes at all, his views are inconsistent because he does support the idea of the government having troops over in the Middle East. He also made the mistake that most people do of referring to things that the government is doing in the collective. For example, he made mistakes like saying, "We have troops over in the Middle East," when what he really meant was that the US government had sent troops over into the Middle East. Looks like we're gonna have to make our way through this stuff somehow.
So to get back to the issue of not using "we" in reference to things that the government does.
Some, like my dad's colleague, might say it's a trivial distinction, but I would argue it's a very important one.
People aren't one unified mass. Each person is an individual.
When people use collective terms, it really distorts their thinking as to what the real issue is.
For example, if somebody from another country asks you, "What are you doing in Iraq?" you probably won't even stop to consider what the actual meaning of the question is.
Whether or not you're for or against the Iraq war, you might come up with a number of possible reasons to be over in Iraq. The problem is the question distracts from the issue itself.
The real question is not why is somebody over in Iraq, but who is in Iraq in the first place.
The use of the collective, like you or we, implies either that all Americans are in Iraq or sent people over to Iraq themselves.
It implies that you are part of the decision.
And masks the fact that it's solely the organization calling itself the US government which sent the troops over there. I think collectivist thinking is very dangerous because it tends to allow people to forget that people are all individuals and that groups are really a fantasy.
And I myself am striving to remove the term "we" from my vocabulary in reference to things that the government does.
Another guy we met the other day while waiting for our RV to be fixed went even further in the collectivist direction. He fully embraced collectivism and even identified with the term socialist.
When I asked him if it was okay for products and services to be provided under the threat of violence, he kind of avoided the question a little bit at first, but eventually he pretty much acknowledged in the affirmative.
People like that are interesting to have discussions with, but are pretty much a waste of time, especially when you have more important, pressing things to do.
I did find it funny, though, that when I tried to disengage myself from the conversation, noting that it was clear that neither one of us were going to make any headway with the other,
he tried to argue that the reason I wanted out was because I thought I was losing because my arguments were inconsistent. When really, his selective advocacy of force is the inconsistent point of view.
Going back to do day hikes around some of the waterfalls. This will be the end of the blog about walkforliberty.com/blog.